Hello, everybody, and welcome to our orchestra reading session. A few housekeeping notes before we get started. Biggest thing is that in the chat, you'll find a link to the playlist of all of the pieces we're going to show you today. So feel free to follow along or add that to your SmartMusic account so you can have access to all this great music. Don't forget to download your certificate of attendance in the chat as well. Don't forget that we have all the on-demand sessions to view at your leisure as well. All the sessions are going to be recorded and emailed to you within the week, and those will be available until the end of July. I think that's it on my housekeeping notes. Without further ado, we have Soon Hee Newbold for our speaker today. Wow, I just lost all my words, sorry. Soon Hee Newbold is a woman of many talents. Not only is she a wonderful composer, she also is a performer, an actress, a film composer, you name it, Soon Hee Newbold does it. So in order to get to all of our music, please welcome Soon Hee Newbold.
Good morning to all of you. Thank you so much for being here. I want to thank Felicia and the staff at Make Music and SmartMusic. They generously put this reading list together to highlight a range of grade levels, publishers, writers, and styles. I find reading sessions to be one of the best ways to find music for your groups. This is actually my first virtual SmartMusic session. I think most of you said you prefer to play when attending a reading session, but it's really nice to know that there are these options as well. I think we spend the majority of time researching and finding repertoire for our concerts. Is the difficulty level appropriate for the students? Does it teach new techniques? Is the content fun? And then what gives it that extra X factor that will not only inspire you and the students, but the audience as well? That je ne sais quoi, or the little secret ingredient that makes it stand out, is what makes choosing music, I think, the most difficult. I would say that if the music connects with you on some deeper emotional level, then you've discovered that extra something special. And I think I've heard some people echo this, having your kids be a part of that process as well, choosing the pieces and having ownership in the work itself. Publishers usually break their catalogs down into difficulty levels, usually grades 1 through 5. They try to stay consistent in their own catalogs, but there are obviously some differences between publishers. You ultimately know what works best for your groups, so I would suggest when you're looking at grade levels to use it as a starting point, and then after that, don't give it another thought. There are some beautiful beginning works that still have a lot to offer some advanced players. Okay, so let's get going. In the interest of time, we will not hear every piece in its entirety, but you will get the important highlights. Beginning strings, grades 0.5 to 1. Typically, we only use notes from a 1 octave D scale. Cello and basses will usually double. There may be a viola double with violins or a violin 3 part, and a rehearsal piano is pretty standard. Our first piece is from Carl Fischer, Adamant, by composer Larry Clark. It's a grade 0.5. We'll be listening up to measure 57 because then it recaps to the main theme after that. Cellos and basses get the melody at measure 49. There are some interesting parts and rhythms. It's not the typical D major key like most pieces at this grade level. Violas do have an independent part, but there are areas where they do double with the violins quite a bit. Cellos and basses are doubled, and rehearsal piano part is included. We will be taking a look at the cello part. Great. Okay, moving on. A next piece is by FJH Music. It's called First Finger Rock by one of my best friends, Brian Balmages. It's a grade 0.5. It's a short piece, so we'll hear the entire thing. Viola and violin two, a double, cellos and basses double. There is a percussion part, and it does include a rehearsal piano. And as I'm sure most of you brilliant people could tell, it only uses the first finger. It's a great piece to work on steady tempo and counting. We will be looking at the violin two part. Okay, next up, we have something from Highland Etling. This is a classic favorite by Richard Meyer, Dragonhunter, which is a grade 1. We'll just play up to the DS. Now, what's kind of special about this is it's a programmatic work. It sounds pretty epic. It's in a modal key, which is unusual for this grade level. There's simple eighth note rhythms. It's a great piece to work on musical story and dynamics and techniques like pizzicato. It does have a violin 3 part, which doubles violas, cello and bass double for the most part. It includes piano. And we'll be looking at the violin 1 part. Great, moving on, we have something from Belwin, Themes from the New World by Dvorak, arranged by Doug Adams. This is actually grade 1. We'll hear the entire thing because all 3 themes from all the movements are included. This actually introduces low 2 in violin 1. It exposes younger players to some of the classic symphonic themes. There are different time signatures like 2/4 and 4/4, and then there are some bowing techniques that are introduced as well. Um, the violin 3 part does double violas, cellos and basses double, and they get one of the main themes in the third movement. Piano part is included, and also percussion. And we'll also be looking at violin 1 for this. Great. Okay, moving on to grades 2 through 2.5. We usually get out of the D scale, incorporate a few more keys and complicated rhythms. There's more independent voicing between the instruments. Usually basses and cellos will still double, and there will still be a piano part typically. Now, this first grade 2 that we'll be looking at is by Highland Etling. It's The Cliffs of Moher by Susan Day. It's a grade 2. We'll play up to measure 79. Now, there are fun rhythms and themes throughout this. It does introduce some low and high 2s in the violins and a high 3 in violas. There are some double stops and also harmonics. There's a key change at measure 37. Now, this does have an independent viola part. There is no violin 3. Cellos and basses do not double, and there's no piano part. But we'll be taking a look at cello. Great. Okay, next up from FJH Music is going to be Voyager by Moher. It's a grade 2.5. It was inspired by flight and space exploration. It actually was a commission for the Maitland Middle School Orchestra in Maitland, Florida, and their mascot is a hawk. So they wanted something that symbolized that. And I love flight, so this is kind of the bird's eye view is what you're hearing. We'll play up to measure 57. There are some fun syncopated rhythms in the lower voices. The violin 3 part does double viola, and the cellos and basses double, but there are some double stops and divisi in the cello. Pizzicato is also in the piece, and there's a change in key at measure 55, which is about where we'll stop. Piano part is included, and we'll be taking a look at the bass part. Okay, up next from Keiser Southern, we have Waltz from Serenade for Strings by Tchaikovsky, arranged by Lauren Keiser. It's going to be a grade 2.5. Now, what's great about this is it's a classic piece that's accessible for students, but has a mature sound and captures the style of the original. It's a great piece to work on phrasing, the waltz style, and musical expression. It includes a piano part, and we'll be taking a look at violin 1. Okay, the last one in the grade 2 range is going to be by Belwin. It's Violento by Victor Lopez. It's a grade 2.5. We'll play up to measure 43. There is a violin 3 available part that doubles viola. And it's nice because it has solo parts in the beginning, so you can highlight some of your solo players. A percussion and a piano part is included. And it's a great piece for working on complicated rhythms. It's lively, it's very energetic. And we're going to take a look at viola. Okay, great. Moving on into grades 3 and up, and this is pretty much where anything goes. Grade 3, you'll typically still have, maybe some doubling and maybe a piano part or like a violin 3, but in 4 and 5, everything's gonna be independent. You're gonna have more advanced keys, more key signature changes, some time signature things, and it's just going to be more advanced things, more shifting and that kind of thing. So the first thing that we're going to listen to is by Belwin, The Pines of the Appian Way by Respighi, arranged by Douglas Wagner. This is actually a grade 3. We're going to listen up to measure 49. Because it's such an advanced key, I would think it might be pushing it into a grade 4 or 5, but you can make that call on your own. There's a timpani part which does add to kind of the captures the original with a mature sound. There are some key changes, and there's Divisi in all voices except the bass. Now, a lot of people want to know what the bass part looks like a lot of times in some of these advanced pieces, so that's just why I am highlighting the bass part on this one. Great. Okay, moving on to FJH music. Another Respighi piece, Passo Mezzo, arranged by Bob McCashin. It's a grade 3.5. It's pretty short, so you'll hear the entire thing. What I really love is McCashin always does a really great job of adapting the originals for different ensembles and grade levels without losing the authentic feel and the sound of the original. It's a great piece to highlight your principal players because there are some soloistic things all throughout the piece. There's no piano, and we'll be taking a look at viola. Okay, great. I think we'll be able to have some time for some questions at the end. So if you have any great questions or thoughts or just ideas that you want to throw out there, go ahead and put those in the chat because we will have some time at the end to do that. And if not, then, some sort of funny joke or something if you guys are feeling so inclined. But anyway, going on to Chose, this is going to be La Cascara by Jeremy Wolstenholme. It's a grade 4. We'll listen to the cello part beginning to measure 34, and then we'll switch to violin from 94 to the end. It's for string orchestra and percussion. It has some Latin rhythms and some changing time signatures. There is a part that features solos in each of the instruments. So let's hear the beginning with the cello. Okay, and we're gonna wrap up with FGH Perseus, another piece by me. It's gonna be a grade 5. We'll begin to and play up to measure 59, and then I cut out just a little bit just so we wouldn't have to go over on time, and then go from 85 to the end. This piece really has a lot of mixed meters. It's fun and energetic rhythms, and it tells the story of Perseus. A lot of times, as a composer, I like to draw from stories of legends and myths, and some of the Greek hero stories are some of my favorites. So, of course, I have like Perseus, Orion, and the Odyssey. We'll be taking a look at Violin 2, and hopefully you're enjoying this reading session and getting something out of it. Again, questions? And that's the end of our reading list. So we'd like to open it up to a few maybe comments or questions and see what you guys have to say. It can be anything not related. It could be about music. It can be about your careers. It can be something about, I don't know, the challenges you've been finding in the pandemic, whatever you guys want. Or, you know, we can just end early. So I'll, um, I'll see what you guys have to say.
All right, looks like we have a few questions. This one's really nice. Any new recommendations for pieces with a narrator?
Ooh, new ones. I don't know of ones off the top of my head for this current year, but Lauren Bronowski has a couple grade ones that do incorporate a narrator. So I think it's like there's one, I think Halloween one inspired, and there's another one that's I think Christmas. But those are grade ones, but they're great because they teach like some fun techniques and things like that. So it's really any group could play it, and you could bring in some of your best actors or your principal or something like that to narrate.
Wonderful. That looks like our big question. I don't know if you've had a chance to peruse the comments yet, Soon Hee, but there's lots of compliments on the pieces that you chose and lots of memories that people are getting reminded of through listening.
Well, thank you. I can't take the credit for choosing the pieces. That's all you guys. So you guys deserve all the credit on that, but I'm very happy to represent those and to give my take on each of them. And yeah, that's good. There's some really good stuff in there, and hopefully some inspirational and motivational things that will be good for your programs.
Wonderful. Well, it doesn't look like there's any other questions. Oh, one came up. This music was so fun and enjoyable to read. When I went to college, new composers were writing all serial tonal stuff, and our orchestra dreaded the new music concert. This is great. Love the extensive modal uses. What a great comment. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. That's always good to hear as a composer too, because we're always trying to, it's always that fine balance between writing what we like and writing what the audience wants and what the students want and what's going to push the boundaries as far as being challenging and actually teaching you to train your ear. So thank you for that.
Great. Well, I think that wraps up our session. Soon Hee, thank you for demonstrating this music and explaining kind of your thought process as to why you would choose this and what makes it challenging or what makes it more accessible to students. Your insight is definitely appreciated. So thank you for joining us for this one.
Well, thank you. And thank you for having me. And it's been an honor, and it's great to see all of you guys, even though I can't see anybody right now, but I know you're there. So thank you so much for joining me.
All right, everybody. Closing remarks, just make sure that you download your certificate of attendance if you need it. I just posted it again in the chat. Don't forget to take our survey as well. Click the rate session button, and it just takes about 2 minutes. We do have a few minutes for before the next session starts, so make sure that you check in on the community board as well as any on-demand sessions that you might want. Thank you guys for attending this session, and we'll see you at the next one.